Hey, really glad you dropped by. And I wanted to share that last week I celebrated 40 years of being clean and sober. So I thought I'd share the story of how that all happened. I was 25 and I was repeating the same behavior I'd seen demonstrated in my home, and I knew something was really off. But I didn't understand it had anything to do with my drinking. I thought that alcohol chilled me out and was actually helping me. I didn't understand it was a depressant. And alcohol was, a standard and norm in my household. My dad opened the whiskey 7:30 a.m. and you'd hear glug, 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 glug. And he was always red-faced and had that smell. And that just seemed normal to me. But as I was on my own in my 20s, I realized that if I didn't have a drink or know there was going to be a drink when I was meeting a friend, even, um, I couldn't, I couldn't go. I couldn't show. I had to walk around with then a Walkman and sunglasses and a hat on. My throat was squeezing tight with anxiety. I was losing my values and my morals. The goals that I was focusing on, they were eroding and fading away. And that light inside of my heart was getting more and more dim. I was becoming more and more untrue to myself, and I could sense it. So I asked a friend for some help, and she gave me the number of the therapist. And this is 40 years ago. I didn't go to a therapist then. You didn't do that in the family I was raised from, unless there was something really troubling with you. You must have really been sick. So I applaud everyone today that's made it kind of the normal thing and shared it. And I sat down in this gentleman's office, and the first words out of my mouth were, I am out of control and my life is really unmanageable, and I don't know why. And for some reason, almost immediately, he started asking if there was alcoholism in my family. And I thought, what does that have to do with any of my problems that I have right now? But there was alcoholism in my family. My great grandfather on my father's side died of cirrhosis of the liver, and that is considered an issue caused and created by alcoholism. Um, and alcoholism is a family disease. It affects every member of the lineage. And I believe now, in hindsight, coming in, I came in to put a stop down, put a pin in the addiction, the alcoholism line. So when I drank, I blacked out. I would get violently ill. I didn't know if it was going to be the first drink or the eighth drink. I couldn't wait to get out of myself. The drink really helped with that. And to think of not having drink was overwhelming. I was 25. I didn't understand. I hadn't even bought my first champagne glasses yet. How could I be an alcoholic? So the therapist, suggested that I go to those 12-step meetings. And I said, why? And he said, to learn about your father's drinking problem. So I went. My first story that I heard was about a man who drove his Bentley through the department store window at Harrods in London. And I thought, well, I'm not even close to that bad. So this can't be me, rather than identifying with the feelings that he was sharing of shame, of guilt, of not feeling comfortable in his own skin, having to hide himself with drink. And sort of that inner turmoil that never rests, never having enough, never being enough. no serenity. I didn't even understand what that word really was and why anyone would want that. Um, but this therapist had suggested that I not take a drink or a drug while I was in treatment with him. And I was a good student. I was a good girl. And so at that point, I was so in pain and not understanding what was wrong that I would have, if somebody said stand on your head in the middle of Fifth Avenue, I would have done it. So as I stopped drinking and as I listened to more stories of other people who used to drink and drug, um, and how they felt when they were using versus their process of getting clean and sober and how their life had changed, it really started to sink in. And I started to count days. And literally, it was really hard in the beginning. The goal was to get to the first 90 days and then to get to 6 months and then to get to a year, which seemed unfathomable. Unfathomable. How can you say that word? Um, but I came out of my isolation going to meetings because I was connecting with other people that were struggling with similar issues that I was. And you'd see celebrities back then come into the rooms, and that was always exciting. So you felt like, oh, I can't be this here too. But I made really good friends, like really good friends. And I learned that I had covered myself in barbed wire that was going inward. If I could say what my addiction was in metaphor, that would really be it. Um, and being clean and sober has been my baseline all these years to really explore self, to really create a platform that is solid, to really come to know who I am as a person and to make some kind of sense of living life here on earth. And it's come in decades. I mean, if I could describe it, that first decade was really about getting clean and sober and staying clean and sober. And then it was learning how to work with depression because I had suicidal ideation as a child. I mean, I was 6 when I had my first suicidal ideation that was quite vivid. And my mother came into the room where I was, and that put a halt to everything. But I really had to work with suicidal depressions and clinical depression and learn to work with that. And then it was a decade of really coming to understand the depth of my abandonment issues and my lack of self-worth and esteem. And then it was coming to understand narcissistic abuse, the predatorial, patriarchal environments that I was inhabiting, and how to wake up to that and to draw boundaries and say no more of that. And then to really understand the beauty and the power and the strength that rests inside of my heart that doesn't come from outside accolades at work or through, achievements, or from getting the items that the status quo says will fulfill. So I just want to pay tribute to that young woman who at 25 said no more. And somehow, in each day that I was gifted with, held on to that belief. And if you're thinking that you may have issues with addiction, thinking you want to live your life in a different way, I really applaud you for exploring that and there is hope and there is help. So, if you want to know more about what I offer, go to susangold.us. Info at susangold.us also is the email address. Let me know your story on recovery from alcoholism and addiction, if you like, or your current struggle. And just want to remind everyone that we are in this together. Take good care, and I'll see you next time.